This is the New York City FC Pregame Live. Today, New York City have a chance to snap a 4-match winless streak in a playoff rematch with the New England Revolution. And now, here are your hosts, Glenn Crooks and Matty Lawrence.
Yep. Here we are. I'm Glenn. There's Matty, and there's Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, New York, and that's the locale, the venue, the site for the big game today. New York City FC playing host to the New England Revolution, anticipating a great affair here. Two very good teams in the Eastern Conference going at it. It's the 20th game in the series. That's in the regular season. They've met once in the playoffs, and that's the memorable, twice if you include the U.S. Open Cup, a 1-0 victory earlier this year for New York City in the round of 16. However, last November, it was New York City up at Gillette on the Alexander Collins decisive penalty, moving past New England into the Eastern Conference Finals of the MLS Cup playoffs and getting past the Supporters Shield winning New England Revolution. So, Matty, it's a new season. Things are going on, especially for New York City FC. Somebody who is covering the game today got on the phone with me last night, and they said, "Could you talk about the season a little bit?" And I'm like, wow, it's really been like 3 seasons in one, you know?
It has. There's been so much traveling, so many different competitions, obviously, the CONCACAF Champions League, of course, US Open Cup, and MLS regular season. And it has been a long, hard, arduous season. And I think it's starting to take its toll on the players. I don't think the players would agree. I'm sure the coaching staff wouldn't agree. But in terms of performances, it looks as though it's taken its toll. I would hate to lay the blame at the feet of Nick Cushing. He's obviously having a tough time of it coming in as the interim manager. And all eyes are on him. But I think it's the players as well. Of course, they're the ones who go out there. It's virtually the same starting 11. They're playing in virtually the same style of play as well. It's just not working out for them. I think even Castellanos isn't working in the same manner that he was at the beginning of the season. That's nothing against him. I think it's just natural that after all of the travelling, after all of the games, that they are tired. I think that's just obvious. I think that's human nature. And certainly when things are going badly for you, you appear more tired and you feel the tiredness as well.
However, Tate Castellanos did get 2 goals, got the double in the last game. It's against Atlanta United. Good thing, as it turned out to be a 2-2 draw. But let's listen back. Here's how you heard it on the New York City FC Network. Our airtime today, 12:45 Eastern, for the live commentary on the New York City FC Network. This was against Atlanta, Yankee Stadium.
And a bit of a hospital ball from Magno to Maxime Chanot, but Chanot with the stitches does well to win it back for New York City. Here's Magno to Castellanos. First time shot. It's a goal for Tate Castellanos. The flag stays down. Magno with the assist. As Castellanos beat the 20-year-old keeper Rios Novo. And New York City strikes first. They've had numerous opportunities, and Castellanos, who missed a certain headball goal a moment ago, does record his 9th of the season. And New York City, in the 38th minute, lead Atlanta United 1-0.
Well, anybody who watched the Red Bulls game against Atlanta in midweek knows that the goalkeeper, Rios Novo,
able to. And now on the counter, Castellanos. He finds Maxi Morales. McFadden does well. Now it's Magno. Square ball. And there's the answer. And a brace for Tate Castellanos. And again, it's from Tylus Magno. How about that? Inside a minute after New York City permitted Atlanta United to equalize off the Martinez header, it's Castellanos, his 10th of the season. And New York City regains the lead. It's City 2, Atlanta United 1.
Glenn, like any good analyst, I can read the game. I told you Tylus Magno was having a bad game. 2 assists to Magno. But Atlanta United, how can you let this happen? You've just got yourself back into the game. Martinez, hands on hips in the centre circle. He's devastated. Poor defending from McFadden. Passes the ball in his own penalty area to Tylus Magno, who just cuts the ball back into the path of Castellanos. No way Castellanos is going to miss from here.
That's right. You can stream every game, nycfc.com/radio. We are the only English commentary available today for the game against the New England Revolution. Keep that in mind. I'm gonna sync it up for you. I'm gonna share something also on my Twitter, which will help you. But you said in your commentary there, Matty, as we looked at the Castellanos goals, how could Atlanta, after equalizing, give up a goal so quickly thereafter? And you could also ask the same question to New York City. How could they, after moving ahead 2-1, permit an equalizer by Dom Dwyer in the 86th minute to make it 2-2, right?
Absolutely. I agree thoroughly. There's no way they should have given up that goal. You know, when Dom Dwyer is on the field, you know that he will finish chances. He will finish opportunities. Yes, it was with his right foot, his weaker foot, but that's what he's done his whole career. He's a goal scorer. I know things haven't been going too well for him the last 2 or 3 seasons, but that's what he is. He's a poacher. He's a finisher. And it was really poor defending from NYCFC. There's nothing a head coach can do about that. It was individual errors. And certainly Carlins was very, very culpable for that second goal, as far as I can remember.
So New York City, off this 2-2 draw. New England also a 2-2 draw with FC Cincinnati, also at home. And I thought an interesting little blurb. I like to put fun facts out about the game coming in. I thought this was interesting that both New York City and New England twice had 1-goal leads in their previous matches and twice surrendered goals to just come away with a point. And New England is number 1 in MLS for conceding after the 70th minute, resulting in a tie or a loss. So, I mean, that's...
Great minds think alike. I've got that written down in my notes. New England Revolution gave up the lead twice. The New England Revolution are a side that this season have struggled defensively. We know that they're good going forward. Even without Buxer, even without Tajon Buchanan, they score goals. They've scored 29 in 18. What's that, 1.6 goals per game? But they've conceded 28. So they concede 1.5 goals per game as well. And I think that they have struggled off the back of some of the big name signings that Bruce Arena made, and I don't think they were good signings. I would never have signed Omar Gonzalez or Jose Altidore. That's a fact. That's factual. Gonzalez came in and they were dreadful defensively at the beginning of the season. Now they've gone back to Kessler and Farrell, it seems, as the centre-half pairing, and those two did magnificently well last season. I know Kessler scored an own goal against FC Cincinnati, but I like those two. They defend. They are old-school defenders. They head it, they kick it. They defend for their lives, and it hasn't worked as well as it did last season. But now those guys are back playing together. I think they're a stronger unit.
That's Matty Lawrence, and Matty, we got a little greeting here. And look at this, from the F train. You got to like this. I don't know what train you take to come in. Sometimes we drive, sometimes we take the train.
I took the D today.
Yeah, I take the D normally if I'm coming up to the stadium, or if I'm driving from Jersey like I did today. I just park in the lot behind the stadium here. This is New York City FC pregame live, which we have an hour before kickoff every game, home and away. We're always at the stadium, whether it's home or away. It's on the New York City FC Facebook page, my YouTube account, and also my Twitter. So if you have if you want to just say hi or have any comments, we certainly. Well, let's go to what is brother BKL? I love it, brother BKL. Yeah. What do you think?
I think that New England are a good team right now. They proved it last season. Yes, we know that NYCFC beat them in the playoffs, but they were the best team in MLS. I know they didn't win the MLS Cup, but in the regular season, they were the best team by a country mile. And I think, as I said, I think some of Bruce Arena's signings in the off-season haven't worked out. I think it ruined the flow of the team. I think it ruined the defensive unit. And, of course, we know that any team that loses, and I know it's only been relatively recently, but loses Buxer and Turner, and then, of course, earlier on, Tajon Buchanan as well. That's a number of goals, of course. I haven't got those stats there. The number of goals, and also the best goalkeeper in the league and the best goalkeeper in the US right now. He's better than Matt Turner. He's the number 1 US goalkeeper. So to lose
and Buxer was their leading scorer.
Exactly. To lose that trio of players, it's almost impossible to replace them.
Well, they've tried to replace Buxer with a guy who's not here yet, and he is so similar in quality. We're going to get to that. Yeah. Bruce Arena, the head coach for New England, near the end of this pregame live. We're just going to get his comments on the recent signing. Let's go to Nick Cushing now, and an absence that really has maybe gone under the radar a little bit more than it needed to. Center back Thiago Martins with an ankle injury. Initially 6 weeks. A month to 6 weeks was the diagnosis. Well, the guy's only missed 4 games, as it turns out. It's under 3 weeks. And this was Nick Cushing after I was at training on Thursday, Matty, and watching Thiago Martins running around without any pain, it appeared, and he looked good. Here was Cushing on Martins afterwards.
So in training today, Thiago Martins, from what I could observe, took part in most of it, running around like a gazelle, a little bit of contact as well. So what is his status leading into this one?
Yeah, he's fit. He's up for selection. He'll be in the squad. The team isn't picked yet because we had to see if he could get through the training today. And he got through the training well. He had a real good intensity to him. He moved well, and he showed that experience and enthusiasm that he has. So he's tuned in. He's there. So it's to have him back is a real asset for us as a squad.
So if everything went well, we anticipate when we reveal the starting 11 for New York City FC that he could well be next to Alexander Collins today in place of Chanot. And once again, it gives you 3 quality central defenders to choose from, Matty, and that's important as a grueling season progresses. Yes,
it really is. To have, whether you want 4, 5, 6, it doesn't matter. It's great to have the 3 quality players, as you've said, and also it's not just the fact you've got the 3; it's the fact that it drives each other on as well. You don't want to lose that shirt. I don't think Chanot has been the player he was after suffering that eye injury, and you can understand why he's now having to wear the mask as well. It makes sense that he's not quite the same player that he was. I'm sure he'll get back to his form from last season. But Martins and Collins have now proven they're number 1 and number 2 NYCFC centre-halves. I think Collins is the best centre-half in the league, and Thiago Martins can't be that far behind. And look, when you're paying somebody nearly $2 million a year, he better be up there as one of your starting centre-halves, It's not all about money, but they are throwing a lot of money at Martins, and it's only right that he should be, in the top 2 centre-halves.
One thing we've learned recently, Matty, I don't think I've shared this with you since it came across the Crooks wire only recently, and from Roberto Abramowitz, our Spanish commentary play-by-play guy on the New York City FC network. But Alexander Collins is playing with a broken left pinky toe, which they wrap, and he does get an injection before every game for pain, an injection which will not be able to be continued game to game, especially with these Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday, or Saturday, the midweek game and the weekend game. So there's going to be a point, and keep in mind, Alexander Collins is on 4 yellows. He's 1 away from a suspension, which is probably, he needs some time to heal this thing. But it doesn't seem to have impacted his effectiveness, and it's pain tolerance, but he's getting some pain medication prior, and they're wrapping that little toe. I'm sure you've played with a broken toe at some point in your life.
I have, and it is very, very painful. I know he will have either an anaesthetic or he'll have a cortisone injection, which does mask the pain. It completely takes the pain away. And let's be honest, it is the smallest toe, as you've said. It makes it a lot easier. If it's the big toe, it's very, very difficult then, because most of your weight is going to the joint of your big toe, of course. But yeah, look, Alexander Collins, we know it. We know that he's mentally tough. He's proven that playing for the Peruvian national team. He's proven that taking the decisive penalty kicks, and the way his form has improved year upon year upon year. I don't think anyone can doubt his mental toughness to go with his ability now as well. So it doesn't surprise me that he is able to play through the proverbial pain, dependent on how much the anaesthetic or cortisone does mask the injury.
And then there's Anton Tinnerholm, fullback on the right side. After 265 days of absence from competition, plays in the second half against Philadelphia, looks spry, energetic, inspirational to his team. Then he starts against FC Cincinnati, but in the second half of that game, turns out he suffered an ankle injury. So we got an update from Nick Cushing after training on Thursday about Anton Tinnerholm.
I don't think it's serious. I think it's just one that he's going to be pain tolerant, and I think he's if you see him, he's still limping. He's running with a little bit of a limp, and he's got a bit of pain. It's just a slight ankle sprain. I think where he's gone in for the tackle, he's just twisted the ankle a little bit. So it's not.
And the first thing, of course, is hoping that it wasn't a recurrence of the Achilles. But so assurances are it was not the Achilles.
No, it's just ankle, and it's a short-term thing. But he's just carrying a bit of pain at the minute. So for him to go into a game with restricted movement, it's not going to be possible.
So the good news is he did go for an X-ray on Thursday afternoon, negative. So now it's just working his way back to full health with the right ankle, but it's not the Achilles. So certainly, and when he went down and we saw the kind of pain that he was in, that's the first thing you think.
I think initially we thought it may be a recurrence of that Achilles injury, but then when we saw him coming off the pitch, we could just see by his facial expression that it wasn't that. He seemed relatively happy. He knew that it wasn't anything serious. But the word I took from what you were talking about, Tinnerholm, and Nick Cushing as well, was inspirational. Forget his ability, it's his leadership, the way he does inspire his teammates. That's in the dressing room and on the pitch and at the training ground. He's a huge loss. Of course, from his quality, that aspect of his game, but also his leadership. He's such an inspirational character, he really is. And to have gone 265 games without playing, and it didn't look as though he missed a beat. He was up and down that right-hand side. He was putting in crosses, just as we remember him. It's wonderful that he and Martins, with the medical staff, of course, we can't forget the medical staff, have managed to recover quicker than we thought from both of their injuries. I know that he's had a little bit of a knock now on the ankle to the home, but first and foremost, that recovery and the speed of his recovery from that Achilles injury was nothing short of stupendous.
Right, and the guy that we give a little credit to, this is according to those within the club, for the rapid recovery of Thiago Martins, and I want to make sure I have this right. He's a sports rehab therapist in the club, and his name is Nick Carapino. So a shout out to Nick Carapino, because he's given a lot of credit for bringing Martins back so quickly. And there you see the starting 11 has been revealed by New York City FC, and indeed Martins will start next to Collins, at Gray in for Tinnerholm on the right. And then nothing unusual as you move your way up. Acevedo, Morales in the midfield, Rodriguez, Morales, Magno, and Castellanos, and then the bench. And one thing in the pregame briefing that Nick Cushing shared with me, he basically said Thiago Andrade and Gabriel Pereira are too talented to play such limited minutes right now. So, but he goes, we've got Magno and Santiago Rodriguez. So there's a lot of wealth on the attacking side. However, the utilization and figuring out how to get these guys, because he said playing Gabriel Pereira for 20 minutes, he didn't say it was a waste. It's just like we're not taking advantage of his talent.
No, I think it is a waste. I think just bringing somebody on for 20 minutes doesn't allow them really to get into the pace of the game, doesn't really allow them to show what they can do. You need to be playing 30 to 45 minutes, really, for me to have that much of a positive effect on the game. But they're ultra talented, those guys. But I don't think, yes, Magno got 2 assists, but I don't think any of those guys have been playing up to the peak of their abilities. That is for certain. I don't want to say poor. That's a little bit of a trite word. We could discuss it for 10, 20 minutes. I don't think they have been the players they were at the beginning of the season. Thiago, we know, had the ridiculous sending off. Pereira, we're not seeing enough of him. Tylus Magno and Santi Rodriguez, I think they're having far too many touches on the ball every time they get on it. I know we marvel at their dribbling ability, but it can't be every single time. They get double and treble teamed and then try and dribble around those players. That's when you lay the ball off. When you've drawn 2 or 3 defenders towards you, because that's how players or the opposition is having to defend them, then you lay the ball off. You know you've got at least 2 teammates are free. I just feel there's too many touches on the ball right now from them.
But maybe true, no question. But the thing that has been most alarming recently is giving up the goals in situations where you draw or lose, i.e. Philadelphia, Cincinnati, and most recently on the weekend against Atlanta last weekend. So on Thursday, both Nick Cushing and Justin Hack, who I spoke to, they said the primary focus on training was defending, in particular, the cutbacks and how the players will rotate and cover positions effectively. So it's something that is a bit of a conundrum because it's going to take time to train. Nick Cushing, he referred back to games in the past where because of a Sean Johnson save or an opponent miss over the bar or wide, something like that, that they've escaped similar situations. But speaking of Justin Hack, so did speak to Hack, and here's a guy that got 5 chances to play with New York City FC 2 this year. We saw he had major minutes against Cincinnati due to the injury to Chenot and was effective in that. Now, last year, Matty, he was loaned to Hartford for 16 games. So I asked him to compare the two, and essentially he spoke of New York City FC too highly in his ability to be able to play with the first team.
I think the biggest difference is that now I can train here every day of the week and then play with the same system with the U23 team. So I think players that are in kind of my position right on the bubble, this league helps them a lot more than it would going to a different team with maybe different style and not get to be around the.
So even though you're playing, it's and then you're not here training.
Exactly.
As you said,
just like for the head coach to always see you training, see you developing, that's also important. So that's one of the big positives now.
So it makes sense. He's played fewer games than if he were in Hartford, maybe, but he's playing within the same system. And here's a guy, Matty. He went 2 years and 10 months without seeing a first-team game. Signed in 2019 January as a homegrown, third homegrown. Played in 3 matches that year for a total of 6 minutes. 66 minutes against Cincinnati. I think we both agreed it was a good match for him. And then he and Thiago coming in late in the game against Atlanta to try to maybe solidify things a little bit, up 2-1. Before they could get on the field, it was 2-2. But anyway, so Hack and New York City FC too.
No, I agree with him to the extent of it. It really, really helps to be playing in a team that plays the same way as the first team. And obviously that's NYCFC too. Of course they're going to play the same way. Hopefully all throughout the academy they play the same way. That's how it should be. I don't think that it's anywhere near as competitive enough. I do think that you need to be playing first team games as well. I think the NYCFC 2 helps. I don't think that Hartford Athletic helped. They were a poor team from what I remember whenever I watched their games. I understand the location, so it meant he could stay. I mean, it's not as though you're trying to send him out to LA to play for Orange County or somebody out there.
Yeah.
I totally understand that. And it is the nature of the beast of American soccer that you can't do what teams in Europe do, and that's send a player to from an English perspective, send a player to Belgium, send a player to Holland or to Germany to get minutes, or drop them down into the championship, and it's still incredibly competitive. Yes, NYCFC 2 is competitive, but I don't think that it really gets you ready for MLS play. I think it helps, that's for certain, but I think you need to get minutes with an MLS team, or you have to go out on loan somewhere else, and that is very difficult because of the nature of the leagues in the US, and that's not disparaging to the US. The geography of it as well. You'd need to find a team that played the same way as NYCFC 2, and that as NYCFC, and that's pretty difficult.
All right, the New England 11 has been presented. We'll give that to you in a moment. First, they signed a new player this week, pretty important. Giacomo Vrioni, a transfer for Juventus. He's a designated player. It's not like he played a lot of games for Juventus, just 2 appearances. But you talk about a like for like. He is 6'2", 187, great in the air. And it's Adam Buxa who moved on, also on the transfer market. Buxa, who is 6'3", 185, and a guy who was 3rd in aerial duels, won in MLS a season ago. So let's give Bruce Arena, head coach for New England Revolution, his time to describe the newest player who will not be available today, and Bruce will give you an idea about that.
Well, Giacomo's a player we've looked at recently. There were a number of players we were looking at, mainly attacking players for our 3rd designated player position, and as we went through the process and did background work on Giacomo, it became apparent that he was going to be a very good choice for our club. And, we had to go through negotiations with Juventus for a while to see if it was something we could make happen. And we were fortunate over the last couple of weeks. We could come to terms with both the club and player, and he's here, and he's gonna play the striker position, the number 9 position, which was obviously occupied previously by Adam Buxa, and I think he's a good option in that position. It gives us some strength there now with Gustavo Bo as well and Josie Altidore, so we feel good about that. Giacomo's a left-footed player. Primarily. Has good size, about 6'2", 185 pounds. And like all players, it'll take a little time to make an adjustment to our league and our club and our country and city. But we think over time he's going to be quite well.
So there's Bruce Arena, and he did say mid-July at the earliest. So what's today?
Today is July 9th, is it?
So mid would
10th?
be the next match, or could it be later in July? And it all has to do with the old paperwork to get from one country to the next. That's the only thing holding them back right now, apparently.
Yeah, and I like what Bruce Arena said as well. Don't expect too much too soon as well. Coming to a new country, new language, new style of play, new league, new training regime. I think sometimes the expectancy levels are a little out of control. And look, this is a young kid as well. This is somebody who's not scored any goals in Serie A, only scored 1 goal in Serie B, scored a few goals in Serie C, which is a very low level of football, the third tier in Italian football. But last season he had a magnificent season with Tirol in the Austrian Bundesliga. He got 19 goals in 23 starts in 28 games. So 19 goals in 28 games is one hell of a return in the top division in Austria.
Right.
That's a great return.
That is.
And he's coming of age. You know, you wouldn't expect him to be banging goals in when he's 18, 19, 20. Certainly not when you're at Juventus. And you don't get a look in unless you are a fully fledged international. We know that he's played for Albania a few times. I don't think he's scored for the full national team yet.
And a left-footed striker, you don't see a plethora of those.
No, and I love, again, what Bruce Arena said there. He said predominantly left-footed, but he was almost insinuating to me that he's both-footed, maybe not totally two-footed. There's very few of those players around. But as a centre forward, you're always practicing with both feet, of course, and a young player. And the size, I think the comparisons are going to be with Buxa straight away, of course, like for like, size for size. But he's his own man. He's an individual. I think we should refrain from saying that it's Buxa's direct replacement and he's going to be a similar player until we've seen exactly what he does.
For sure. Gustavo Bo, he will start at striker today for New England, flanked by Leggett and Barrero. So this 20-year-old, the Colombian U22 initiative, will be in the starting lineup. Carlos Heel in behind them. Tommy McNamara, who scored that game winner against New York City FC from Tejan Buchanan, who's no longer here. McNamara will have Kaptoum, and that they'll sit in behind Heel. Petrovic in goal, the guy who's really aptly replaced Matt Turner. He hasn't lost a game in 5 starts. And then it's Jones, Kessler, Farrell, and Bai. That's what you would expect as a back four for New England. Well, we're all set here at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. I'm Glenn Crooks along with Matty Lawrence. Chris Sakonis also with us, standing by for the live commentary on the New York City FC network, which can also be heard on the New York City FC app. So listen to us there. And today we've got Sirius XM FC channel 157 carrying the game. New York City playing host to the New England Revolution, and we kick off with our commentary 12:45 p.m. Eastern. So listen in. If not, just enjoy the game, everybody, and thanks for joining us.